What's up, guys? So let me ask you something. How often do you find yourself in a middle of a conflict, a fight, a scuffle, and you're trying to keep the peace, but everything in you just kind of wants to blow up and explode, or you may be in a situation where you are playing the nice guy or the nice girl just to avoid the conflict, avoid the fireworks, avoid all of the negative emotion that comes with conflict. Well, guess what? Something you probably already know is that avoiding the friction does not make it go away. In fact, what if I told you the tension wasn't your enemy, the conflict is not your enemy? It actually can work in your favor and be your biggest ally. Now, what if that, or in that uncomfortable moment, you're just like tempted to run, hide, not even look at it, but actually by embracing it is where you can face your biggest breakthrough. You can't get to peace without going through the chaos first. So this is all about dancing and dealing with the chaos. So today we're diving into gate 6, known as friction. It's here to blow up the myth that we have that conflict is a bad thing. Instead, we want to look at it as a ticket. Look at it as our golden ticket or our way to go Super Saiyan into transformations. So we're going to talk about how Gate 6 can help us, how the energy is feeling this week, and how you can use it as rocket fuel to connect to yourself for your personal growth. Are you ready to use your superpowers? All right, let's take a look at how friction can help you do that. So, in astrology, this is the Virgo. In tarot, this is the Five of Wands. In the I Ching, this is the gate of conflict and dispute. And this energy is all about the tension, all about the friction that we go through before something is released, before creativity is expands. There's always friction. And this gate has a lot to do with our sexual energy, the pulse of creation, literally the friction to create life. The location of this gate is in the solar plex, reaching towards the sacral, which has impacts around how we reproduce in this world. And this gate has a lot to do with emotions that we're going to talk about. It is very, very key to the beginning, the start, and the feeling of emotions. And then in Gene Keys, the energy frequencies are conflict, diplomacy, and then peace. All right. So, how do we or what is the essence of this energy and what is it here for us to learn this week? So this can be or feel like a electrical shock that snaps you out of whatever it is that you're in, whether it's your regular routine or whatever, and it's like, hey, it's time to level up. It's time to step up our game. And this energy, coming from the emotional solar flex, but this is where all of our emotions are stored. And so this is where we're getting that juice to remind us that, hey, conflict isn't always a villain. Sometimes we are conflicted, or most of the time we're conflicted with options before taking the next step in our journey. And so, in this journey, we're really here to slay the dragons, right? We're trying to get that treasure. If you play video games or any mythical movie story, we're slaying the dragons, slaying the emotions to get the treasure. AKA, we want that peace, that connection, and deep understanding with ourselves when all of that shit is, just rumbling around on the inside, and we're trying to figure out what to do with it. When activated, this gate unlocks your ability to knock down conflict like a ninja. It's all about diving deep and emerging stronger after we go through the conflict so that we can then reemerge, keep going in the same direction with a clear direction, or maybe even shift. And now we're headed in a totally new direction. And it's not about avoiding the fiction, avoiding the conflict. It's really about just embracing it, letting it shape us, and really stepping into our own power so that we can see the path through the friction, see the path to the peace that we're looking for, get the answers to our questions to resolve whatever situation we find ourselves in at the moment. So things that we can reflect on this week, things that I'm going to be reflecting on is, you know, face it, or I like to face it is that, conflict can be uncomfortable. I like to say get comfortable being uncomfortable. because every conversation that you have where you may disagree, every challenge, struggle you have, every tough conversation is really an opportunity to connect, or we should see these all as opportunities. What if we flip that instead of seeing them as conflict? So, this gate is going to really invite us to meditate or reflect on how do we react when things get heated, when that energy, when those feelings get elevated, when we're at the top of that emotional wave. Do we shut down? Do we avoid? Do we lash out? Or do we just avoid the issues altogether? Um, Living with 3 generations plus aunties and nieces, I'm seeing everyone's style of how they deal with conflict. I'm a head on, like, let's address it now and talk about it and get it out in the open. But as you can probably imagine, not everyone has the same approach. So, when things do get heated or when I do disagree, I have to ask myself, what am I here to learn? What is this emotion triggering in me that I can go sit back and make a video about later on? And what type of, if like we meditated on stopping or just avoiding the conflict, right? Why are we avoiding the conflict? Is there an argument that we dread? And meditate on why this thing is bothering so much, and see if we can find something deeper in ourselves while we're thinking about the triggers or the conflicts that come up for us. A couple of things we can write about in our journals is think about a time when friction actually was a breakthrough for us. So remember the times when we had an issue situation and we were able to get through it, we were able to bust through it. Like, what shifted and what did we learn from that? And then kind of a little in the forward, looking a little before, like, how does tension tend to show up in your life? What are some of the patterns that you can identify in your life and start getting ahead of some of these situations so they're not so draining, and you're immediately in a position, or you're immediately ready to get the lessons for those nuggets in the moment. All right. In shadow and in enlightenment. So the shadow of this gate, it feels like conflict. It's like it may be the end of the world, like we're walking around with either like a bomb in our chest or something that just wants to explode, something that we need to get off our chest, and we're just kind of like ready to go off at any moment. Those emotions maybe like at the surface, just ready to just go off at any moment when we're in the energy of gate 6. So like when you're stuck here in this energy and you're either looking to avoid the conflict like the plague, or maybe you have bottled up those emotions, this is when you want to start to kind of realize that you're in the shadow. Start thinking about reacting instead of, responding to whatever's triggering you from this gate. And you may also start to play the blame game, blaming yourself, blaming others, and everyone else is the problem. It ain't you in this moment. It's somebody else, right? So in this shadow state, you end up like disconnected from yourself, from your truth, and those around you. So you feel that energy as well. You know that you're in the shadow state. But guess what? That the longer you avoid it, the longer you avoid the friction, the causing, the conflict, the more it feels stuck inside you, the more it builds up. And but here's the catch. Here's the thing. Here's the magic. The magic happens when we embrace the discomfort, and that's exactly what we're going to do. But it's exactly how you get to the positive or the enlightened side of this energy. So in enlightenment, this gate makes you feel, or makes you become a master of transformation, because your emotions are no longer running the show. You are now the diplomat of your own emotions, navigating the tension with the skills of stress relief. You're confident, and you do it with a little bit of flair, a little bit of humility, but also a little bit of humor. And you see conflict for what it really is. It's just people's energies bumping up against each other. It's not right or wrong. It's nothing personally against you. But then we can use it as a catalyst for deep connections and breakthroughs. Again, living with a house full of, let's just call it new energy, getting deeper connections with everyone, whether we're communicating directly or not. I'm feeling their energy with my open energy center. And also my wife also has this gate 6. And so she's really been feeling tension this week. Not necessarily been able to like put her finger on like it's something, but she just kind of feels like this underwhelming, not underwhelming, this under sense that is overwhelming of tension, and not necessarily knowing what to do with it, but you may not need to do anything with it at all. So it's about, sitting in some of that tension. It may not feel good, but we need to embrace it, knowing that it's here to shape a better version of us, to help mold us into what we desire. And also, when we're in the enlightened part of the energy, we understand that our peace doesn't come from avoiding that shit, but it comes to talking about it, like going through it, having conversations, and learning from them. Most importantly, obviously, but doing it with empathy, with curiosity, and with an open heart, because we're really not just handling conflicts, but like really turning it into a system or art, maybe even a better way to put it, of how we're weaving, handling the different conflicts and the different ways they show up, the different family members, co-workers, whoever, with ourselves, and how we actually float with the punches versus more so kind of getting smacked in the face by them. And so conflict is just another part of our life, just another bump on our adventure filled road. And we're learning to become the hero in that for ourselves and really be the person that we're meant to be. So I had to move because my iPhone said it was getting way too hot. So a little bit of a more shady spot. We got a little sun. We're gonna move into the sun a little bit. All right. So in human design, this gate is in the solar plex. That is the home of all of our emotions, the wave, the ups and the downs. It all comes from the solar plex, and it's reaching to the sacral center, which means it's not just about you. It's about how the energy is moving between our relationships, other people, and how we navigate the ups and the downs of our emotional waves, because that stuff can be very tricky and it can feel like we're not doing things right, but some of us are really here to just ride that wave. On the topic of conflict, I'm having some conflicts right now trying to do this. My phone was too hot, and there's also this dog in this neighborhood, and he's agitating the other dog, and you can guess how that's interrupting the video. All right, when you have gate 6, we're riding the waves, we're surfing with it, and we're looking at conflict as an opportunity to develop deeper understanding about ourselves and to get to that emotional clarity, right? You got to have the conflict before you can get to the clarity. Whenever you have a problem, you may have multiple solutions on the table. It may be tiring having to go through all of them, but once you get through all those options, once you get through the tension of looking at all the different combinations of problems, then you have clarity for a little bit. At least you move on to the next situation, right? So that's part of the journey. All right, so this is part of the tribal circuitry. Gate 6 isn't just about you, it's about the people around us as well. It's about our community. And this is the energy that keeps things moving smoothly. So by resolving conflicts with harmony, creating harmony, and making sure that everyone's on the same page before we move on and just assume everybody is good in the situation. And so, when we're in the higher part of this energy, when we're vibrating at a higher level, we're the glue that holds all the stuff together. And we do it by embracing the tension, not avoiding it. So you think of it like a peacemaker as well, right? Like not because you keep things quiet, but because you know how to turn the conflict into connections. You know how to start reading people's emotions and really understand like what's going on with them at a deeper level. I'm definitely been able to do that, with my wife, understanding like when, like this week, gate 6 is here. I'm like, hey, heads up, you have this gate, you may be feeling some of this, and literally starting to see it play out on a day-to-day basis. So the strategy or how we want to use this energy is generated, and so what that means is that we're not just out starting fights just to do it for the sake of conflict. or because we need to get a spark out of somebody. We're really just responding with what vibes with us. How we're feeling at the moment, and whenever that tension pops up, this gate 6, allows us or invites us to pause, feel it out before we jump to conclusions and think we need to make more of what we think it is. It's really nothing. It always is. And the conflict isn't the problem. It's really how do we handle the conflict, right? A lot of times the solution may not be, or the solution is worse than the symptom, or something how that goes. But a lot of times, and I do this kind of smirkingly when people offer help, and I'm like, I didn't ask for your help, right? Like, so just be sure that when we do offer what we have from this gate, we do it when it's asked, right? All right, let's activate this energy for the week. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna embrace the drama. Right? Next time we feel it stirring up inside of us, and instead of running from it, We're gonna run to it and ask ourselves, like, what am I here to learn from this? What is it that I don't see here? And the friction is here to literally wake you up, like not to break you down. Funny enough, my son, the new word last night, we're like, go to sleep. He's like, wake up. So the friction is here to wake us up, even if it's at 1 o'clock when you're trying to go to sleep with your son. Think about what's the lesson to learn here. And we can also look at the culture for some inspiration, right? So one of my favorite movies is The Devil Wears Prada. I also love Iron Man, and look at the tension between these characters, right? Like the outcome of that conflict is a stronger character in both of those situations, Iron Man and with The Devil Wears Prada. And let it inspire you, right, to look at your inner superhero, or in The Devil Wears Prada, maybe even your villain. Like look at your inner hero and see what inspiration you can have from that. And then can we flip the script, right? Can we flip the script on the typical argument, and instead of being defensive about something or thinking we gotta defend ourselves, fight back, what if we just said, hey, what's the tension I'm here to see? And you know what? To make it even better, I'm just gonna like interrupt this pattern right now, instantly transmit it, and I'm gonna come on and get the nugget from this right now. And then we need an affirmation to remind ourselves every day is conflict isn't a roadblock for us. It is our rocket fuel for transformation. So we can take off. So one other note on this gate being about friction, and gate 5960, this channel when it's activated is all about procreations, right? Literally the friction, the situation, if you want to call it that, that is necessary for life to be created. So when we as humans have sex, we're literally creating the friction to manifest the next thing, in this case, a child. But it doesn't have to be just related to childbearing in a physical sense. It could be in a spiritual sense as well. It could be in other things that we're birthing, ideas that we're looking to birth. There's always going to be that friction, that conflict about the direction to go, right? Because it's necessary for there to be something, to be that next thing that's going to manifest. And so I find this showing up, in my relationship is me and my wife. A few weeks ago, this whole channel was filled in. Check the video when I was in Aguan in the village, and everyone was coming back home for the feria, the fair. So my wife had made a comment that a lot of people are coming home. It's going to be a lot of connecting during this week, and yeah, you could see that people were out in what we would say was some of their best dress in the villages, and looking to hang out, have a good time, but also create some friction. And this week, it's only half of that channel, and my wife has it. So she may, or if you also have this gate, you may not necessarily have that closure in this week. Like you're feeling like the friction, but there's no way to resolve the friction. And the answer is there may not be a way to resolve that friction. Sometimes you just have to go through it. And something I've learned from being with my wife now for almost 10 years is there is a little bit of friction that starts any conversation with her. Like eventually, it's more of like it's kind of a playful friction, but sometimes I recognize it immediately, right? So it's kind of a little dance to play to get over that friction in the beginning, which is another gate, right? Difficulty in the beginning, and but once you get through it, it's like all right, everything's good, right? So not a bad or good thing, but these are things that we were learning about ourselves, learning about the others around us, and it helps me learn a lot about myself on how to navigate the conflicts that I have internally myself. So I hope you enjoyed today's energy reading, Gate 6. The thing about friction is that it doesn't have to stop us. We can let it propel us. It's really the boost that we need to rise above, to dig deeper, and to step into the powerful fearlessness version of us that's awaiting for us to emerge. This gate reminds us that peace isn't about avoiding the hard stuff, it's about moving through it. You're not here to play small, you're here to disrupt and shock the system and create epic breakthroughs, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. You do that by running towards attention, like the firefighters. You run towards the building instead of away. So next time you feel yourself holding that tension, you feel it bubbling up, lean into it. Don't run. Know that it's shaping you into something stronger, something bolder, something limitless, because you are not ordinary. You are extraordinary. And you've designed yourself and your life to thrive anywhere. And that's even in conflict. So go through the fear, go through the conflict. Conflict, no problem for you because you're just getting started.